Hello, and welcome to Dishelved with Adam White. Today I'm going to be talking about Cerebus by Dave Sim. Cerebus was a comic that started in December of 1977, a month after I was born, and continued on for 300 issues of a self-published comic book, which is unequaled, not even close by anyone. Uh, it Yeah, I'll get into that in a little bit, but let me just tell you first. This first volume, it's a thick volume. They call them the phone books, the trade paperback collections, because they collect so many issues. They're like phone books. And for those younger viewers, if there are any, a phone book is something that used to come out that was big and thick and had people's names and addresses and phone numbers in it. And that's why they were so big. But nice big size volume. It's got, yeah, well, 546 pages, so it's a big one. There's bigger ones in the ones after this, but uh, anyway, Cerebus is about an aardvark barbarian that started out as a satire of Conan the Barbarian, and we all know and love Conan, and but that doesn't mean that it's wrong to do a little satire of him, which really works in Cerebus. It starts out that way um, as a satire of Conan, and as it moves on, it evolves into something else, and you get it's a satire of society, of government, of just people in general. It just it's a satire of almost everything. There's a little bit of everything thrown in here. And this is just the first volume. It collects number 1 through 25 of Cerebus. And it was exclusively by Dave Sim. And later on, I think either in the second volume or the third volume, he brings in artist Gerhard to do the backgrounds for him because he doesn't fool much with backgrounds even in this book. And there's lots of just either black or white backgrounds. It doesn't take away at all from it. And he starts out uh, pretty pretty rough on the pencils. It's it's good, and it but it's not as good as it becomes by the end of this um, volume. Uh, it starts out, like I said, kind of rough, but then um, just see if I can find something. But you can see it becomes something very different, especially in his portrayal of Cerebus. And anyway, it starts out a little rough, and he even says that himself in interviews and stuff that it started out rough, but it was an independently produced comic book back in 1977. So, he had to do everything himself, and I think this is a tremendous work. I know and I'll get into this in a few minutes, but I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding Dave Sim, but um, I don't think that detracts from his work. Uh, I know, even though we found out Neil Gaiman is a inhuman piece of garbage, people aren't going to stop reading Sandman. So, uh, that's just the bottom line. And I've read half of Sandman. I've read the first half. There's 4 volumes of the Absolute Sandman. I've got all 4 of them. I've read 2 of them. And I plan on reading the others eventually. But I always get sidetracked by something. So, in fact, this Cerebus I got at a 3 for $10 pile at a comic convention almost 15 years ago, and I had it set aside and just didn't even really remember I had it. And then I found it when I was looking for something else, and I thought, I really had to give that a shot, mainly because I love this cover. Um, I think this is one of my top 10 covers if I had to pick them right now. It's it's a lone Cerebus, an aardvark barbarian, alone in a world that doesn't understand him and won't, and there's just a starkness to the world that he's in, and it it also is a wraparound, but I love the cover, love it. It's simple, but it really encapsulates what this volume is about. And anyway, a couple of my favorite quotes. Well, first of all, let me tell you first of all about some of the things he also satirizes in it. He satirizes Conan, obviously, with Cerebus. He also parodies Red Sonja, and that's to be expected. And he parodies Elric from Michael Moorcock's work, uh, and Elric of Melnibone, and he calls him Elrod, and he wears a big pointed hat, and he talks like Foghorn Leghorn out of the Looney Tunes cartoons. And you just think Elric and Foghorn Leghorn merged together into one character. It doesn't make any sense, but it works, and it's very funny. I mean, he'll be like, you don't, I say, son, you don't, understand what's going on in the situation. Yeah, it just, I mean, I don't do the voice very well, but, he's always repeating himself and saying, I say, and uh, just doing the Foghorn Leghorn. And it works, and it's really funny. And I love the Elric books. But it was really funny to see what he did with him, because he's Elrod the albino. Uh, and he also uh, makes fun of comic book superheroes. Right there is the cockroach, who is a self-appointed hero of, I think, Bedouin or something. I think that's the city he was in. Um, but he's named the cockroach, and it's makes fun of superheroes and just kind of how ridiculous the idea is sometimes. And so that he does. He also what else does he make fun of in here? He makes fun of uh, well, satirizes. He's got Groucho Marx. That's not his name in the book, but that's basically who it is if you look at him. And he satirizes him. He satirizes Swamp Thing and Man Thing. And he also takes a swipe at Professor X from the X-Men. He just, nothing's sacred in here. Everything is up for grabs when it comes to uh, being satirized, and it all works very well. It is very, very funny. I laughed the whole way through, and some of my favorite quotes are, and I'll have to take my glasses off to read this. I should have warned you, Lord Julius does not permit his employees to speak together except through him. he believes that it causes much dissatisfaction in the city. How does Cerebus asks, how does anything get done? The bureaucrat answers, "This is a bureaucracy, sir. Nothing is supposed to get done." So, and there's the Groucho Marx character. And it's like that's the whole point of government, is that they aren't supposed to get anything done. They're a bureaucracy. I thought that was very funny. None of these give anything away. Um, where was? Well, I can't seem to remember why I marked that page, so I'll have to go to this one. And he goes, um, the guy that's in charge of the town, who's calling himself a president, he goes, "In fact, Cerebus, I think you might even be cabinet material. How would you like to be first Secretary of the Interior for the government of the United Feldwar States?" "All that depends. What does a Secretary of the Interior do?" asked Cerebus. "Drink, gamble, and supervise public executions of anyone who speaks out against my administration." And then Cerebus says, "Mr. President, I humbly accept this great honor. And I do humbly swear that I will, to the best of my ability, remain falling down drunk at least 90% of the time." And then the president says 95%. And Cerebus rise 95%. So that's the one thing with Cerebus, is he starts out as a barbarian, but the only thing he's really interested in is gold and liquor. And that's really what he wants. And he works tirelessly to try to get bags of gold and to have something to drink. And that's his motivation throughout. And he gets involved in all sorts of different things, in revolutions and attacks on cities, and with wizards and all sorts of different stuff. But that remains his one true calling, is gold and drink. So I thought that was really, it's the character stayed true to himself throughout the whole thing. Just really, that might be the page I already showed, but um, as you can see, there's a lot of stark black and white, and it really works. I think that it's fantastic. The Elrod character always calls him the boy in the bunny suit. Nobody realizes he's an aardvark hardly, but it's all fun in this, and I really think Dave Sim did an absolute extraordinary job with this comic. And I plan on reading. There's, I think, 16 volumes that are all thick like this. The third one I've already got is like almost twice this size. But I I know that he's got some opinions apparently about women that aren't very, well, just correct in any sense. And I, of course, don't agree with him, but I haven't seen a lot of that. So, I mean, I try to stay out of that and just let the work speak for itself. So I'm not, this isn't a, hey, I support Dave Sim and everything he says. I just support this work because I think it's fantastic. And I hate that I've waited so long to read it, because I could have read more by now had I just picked this up when I first got it. And, but this comic has been around almost as long as I have in this world. So, it is just a fantastic comic, and I can't recommend it enough. And like I said, I love that cover. This is volume 1 of Cerebus, Dave Sim. Excellent, excellent comic. If you like sword and sorcery or just satire of any kind, you'll love this. It's really funny. It's really deep, and it does make fun of stuff, but it never disrespects the material that it's making fun of. He always respects the material that he's talking about. You can tell that he loves the stuff that he's doing satire of. So it really works. It's really good. I can't wait to read more. I will probably do an update on it as I read them. Uh, I don't know if I'll read the whole series. I've heard it kind of falls off after volume 10, but um, I'm going to keep. I'll read at least through 11 and see if that's the case. If it's not, if I still like it as much as I do right now, which is a lot, I'll read the whole thing. But it's basically a 6,000 page graphic novel, and he did it from 1977 through I think 2006, I believe. And he did 300 issues, and they were all self-published. He did it on his own, proving that it can be done. He helped a lot of other people get started in the business, most particularly Bob Burden, who I will talk about in a future video. Uh, I love his work. And he had connections to Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird that did the Ninja Turtles, and so he helped publish some people that wouldn't have otherwise got published, and then moved on to other publishers and stuff. But Dave Sim self-published the whole thing, 300 issues. It's amazing. It's an amazing feat, and he does deserve credit for that, regardless of what you may think of his politics and thoughts on gender. Uh, he does deserve credit for doing something that no one else can say they've done. And I really think you ought to give Cerebus a chance and check it out, because you won't be disappointed. Anyway, I've went on enough for that today, but I hope to see you sooner than later, and thanks for hanging out with me.